Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Uncanny Tracks. It is our second episode on Gotham City Sirens. Number 2, we are talking about the old trade paperback Song of the Sirens. It runs from issue number 8 to issues number 13 of the Gotham City Sirens run. I am Bob in Cascadia. That is Matt in the Southland. There is a Catwoman issue in this trade too, but we're just going to skip the Catwoman issue. It's not that good.
It was a tie-in to some crazy crossover event.
It was the Black Lantern War.
I was flipping through the pages and I saw Black Mask and a weird uniform type thing, and I'm glad I'm not reading this.
On the one hand, Blackest Night is a somewhat cool idea of, hey, zombies, Green Lanterns. But as a man who has read a fair amount of Blackest Night tie-ins, in my Batman comics, I'm sorry, I don't want to see a Black Lantern ring. I just don't.
He doesn't want to see a Black Lantern ring.
Man, that sounds really weird when you put the intonation on it. Sounds really weird. Sounds maybe I've turned into George Wallace.
Be careful, Bob. Be careful.
Yeah, I'm standing at the door of the series saying, you shall not pass. That's not good. You don't want to be there. You want to submit to the integration orders. That's the right thing to do, folks.
Well, I'm not trying to frame you here, Bob, but there's a lot of framing going on in these issues.
Hey-o. Speaking of which, Matt, issue number 8, it doesn't have a title, but what goes down in titleless issue number 8?
Well, there's a murderer in Robinson Park, Bob, and Poison Ivy is framed as that murderer.
She's framed as that murderer, Matt. And so we've got Gillum Marsh on the art for this issue, but not only on the art, he also plotted this issue. Paul Dini's taken the month off. Then we've got Mark Draco on dialogue. He's wrote the DC Manhunter series with Kate Spencer, which is a pretty good series. Maybe it was running backups in Streets of Gotham at the same time as Gotham City Sirens. We should maybe in the distant future look at that Mark Draco Manhunter series.
Bob, we do get dying Poison Ivy throughout this issue. She's been buried and not getting the sunlight or water that she requires. I've seen Poison Ivy dying so many different times.
She just died in the Lieberman run of Gotham Knights.
That we covered. She was dying there.
Well, and also Ivy controlling Robinson Park, very frequent thing. That came up in the Lieberman run of Gotham Knights. Obviously, it's famous from the No Man's Land art from a few years before this.
All right, that's always their go-to thing for Ivy. So it makes sense that she would be the one killing these people in the park.
Man, this is maybe a meaningless comparison, Matt, but this is much closer in time, this story arc in Gotham City Sirens. This is only 6 years or so away from No Man's Land. We're nearly 15 years away from Court of Owls.
Wow. This was around the time when she was hanging out in Robinson Park all the time.
Yeah. So what was your favorite panel?
My favorite panel is they're hanging out at the house and Harley gets a package. And it's delivered by a guy from FedLex, which I found hilarious.
I've seen FedLex before.
I haven't, which I just burst out laughing when I heard.
That's a common thing in general, to have Lex incorporate Lex into corporate logos. But I want to say I've seen FedLex before.
Yeah. And we found out that Harley has purchased a mallet off of eBay. So
that's pretty good. Yeah. Definitely hadn't heard of eBay.
My favorite panel, Bob, seeing that there wasn't much action or anything to it, but it was just interesting that we have the eBay and FedLex in this universe. A lot of world building going on.
Indeed. A lot of world building, Matt. A lot of world building. My favorite panel was a bit later on 213, where Harley, or is it Catwoman? I think it's Catwoman, tosses a shriveled, wooden, dying Poison Ivy into a pond. I thought that was pretty good.
And then she immediately generates back into a normal human-looking person. All she needed, water.
All she needed, that's what your plants need, Matt. Speaking of which, I gotta go water my landlord's plants after we get recorded. They're nearly to the point of death, but hopefully me watering them every other Sunday, because I forget to do it every Sunday.
We do find out at the end that wasn't it who was doing the injections or whatever, who was killing the people.
Was it an Ivy fanboy?
It was an Ivy fanboy, that's right. He was really excited. He was excited that he dies by Ivy's kiss.
Yeah, that kiss.
I ask you that because I don't want to get confused with the next story, which is also about the whole team being framed.
But this one was written by Dini as opposed to being written by Marsh.
They probably should have taught this through before they put these issues back to back.
In issue number 9, we got pieces of the puzzle. What goes down in issue number 9?
So the Riddler teams with the Sirens, who have been framed for the murder of a woman who fell from the sky.
And my favorite panel in this issue, very easy thing, Matt. It's on pages 221 and 227 in our omnibus. And We see the Riddler has question mark coat hooks in his office. And he also has a letter opener, a knife, and the handle of the letter opener is a question mark. I like his commitment to his brand and his commitment to a strong visual identity for his brand.
Do you think Christmas and for birthdays and stuff, everybody buys them question mark?
On the one hand, very likely. On the other hand, you got to know he already has all of it.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. They probably run out of stuff to get him. That's what it boils down to. Everything's got to be green. Do you wonder if he gets tired of getting that stuff, though?
I don't know how amusing it will be, but my friends Jess and Rachel got me a sword and sorcery novel for my birthday, and they got it for me just because it has a cute cat and a cute eagle on the cover. I was looking at it yesterday and I realized it's number 2 in a series. Guys, I have to go get number 1 to read it first. Not very thoughtful of it.
You got to read them in order. You got to get that cat's backstory.
Do you know what sword and sorcery series this is, Matt? You have heard of it, although you probably won't remember it.
Tell me, Bob, what is it?
It's the Beastmaster, Matt.
Beastmaster.
They made a movie in the 80s, but apparently the writer really hated it and disavowed all connection.
It's such an 80s thing, too, if I remember right. I remember commercials for, like, really crappy toys for it.
It was early 80s. And it was a little before we were alive.
Maybe I'm confusing it with the Transformers.
Oh, and there was a Transformers knockoff. Was it Beast Wars?
Beast Wars, yeah.
That in issue number 9, Pieces of the Puzzle. What was your favorite panel?
Well, Bob, my favorite panel was Dr. Midnight. It's on page 229. Dr. Midnight and Wildcat are helping Catwoman recover from. You got to remember, her heart was removed from her body and put back in her body. And I like how Dini continually goes back to that. Because I was under the impression she got her heart back and we never went back to it ever again and never spoke of it. But I like that Dini does go back in this series and really shows that she had to do some training and work to get back into Catwoman.
Dini's in strong continuity with himself.
That's true.
And speaking of him being in continuity with himself, what a real affection Dini seems to have for the Justice Society. He keeps going back to the Justice Society over the course of this run on Detective and Streets of Gotham and Gotham City Sirens. Not in huge ways, right? In very minor ways, but it's interesting. One other thing I liked was on 236, the Riddler calls Penguin Oswald. Obviously, that's minor, but I just thought it was a nice touch. And then we get the reveal of the big villain at the end, Matt, and it's Dr. Aesop. Did you remember Dr. Aesop?
Isn't that one of Dini's characters that he created?
He was at the start of Heart of Hush, but don't quote me on that.
He was. Hush shoots him in the face or something at one point.
But in the immortal words of Oscar Isaac in Star Wars, somehow Dr. Aesop has survived.
That's right, Bob. And that's issue number 10, which is Taking Sides, in which we find out that it was Dr. Aesop framing them because they took his hideout.
So in this issue, we've got Andreas Guinaldo billed as the guest artist, but he pretty much seems to take over as the regular artist from here on out. So issue number 9 was the last time we see Gwillem Marsh, although he's still on covers, but the last time we see Marsh's art in the interiors, which is in a way sad because I don't think Guinaldo's art's bad, but March's art was one of the big draws to this series.
It is really interesting. And the other thing, too, with this art, there are so many animals in this particular issue. Does a really good job with the animals. Not easy to draw. So when you see them in full force here, my favorite panel in this issue is on page 252. This page is split into 3 different sections. And the top one is of Poison Ivy attacking one of Aesop's henchwomen, and it's her using her vines to get her. The middle spot is Catwoman using her whip around the other one, and then the third one is just Harley Quinn kicking her in the face. It's just sectioned off really well. Got to give him credit for that.
It's good. Guinaldo definitely does have some chops. He's not Marsh, but he definitely has some chops. And I guess my favorite thing from this issue art-wise would just be, in general, we see it on a few pages, Aesop has a wolf head cane. And maybe I'm a child, but I couldn't help but feel that maybe it was a little bit of a lost opportunity here, that Dini should have had Aesop with his wolf head cane and Riddler with his question mark cane fence.
One thing I do appreciate about it, when we get to our episode, Bob's talked about having an episode at the end of all this where we kind of rank Dini's villains. We need to make sure we mark down that a big part of Aesop's gimmick is that he has these animals constantly with him. He's a zoo.
Although I was making the list, and it is a long list, I'm not sure if it's as long as we thought it was. And so maybe it's just something we should do at the end of our last Dini episode.
Works, yeah.
Yeah. Although I am going to have to read Dini's Zatanna series and see if we want to cover that. We've only got two more Gotham City Sirens trades in this Gotham City Sirens series, and I'm honestly not even sure how much of those Dini writes.
Okay.
I should look that up. But yeah, so it might be actually very soon when we finally do this new Dini characters rankings, listeners, or we may go ahead and plow the Zatanna series. But
Right. Well, Bob, going back to this particular trade,
moving on to issue number 11, which is called On the Job. What goes down in issue number 11,
well,
Matt?
Bob, Poison Ivy starts her new job while Harley and Selina investigate the disappearance of several neighborhood dogs.
You could consider this foreshadowing for the reveal of the eventual mystery of who's been killing the dogs, Matt, or where have the dogs been vanishing to, maybe more narrowly. And my favorite panel is on 272, and you see one of Harley's hyenas gnawing on Harley's hair. Very cute.
My favorite panel was on 282 when we see the actual hyena boneyard. I don't know if you remember The Lion King.
Oh, yeah. You're exactly right.
Same idea.
Yeah, and so that's the reveal that Harley's hyenas have been eating all the neighborhood dogs. Matt, let's round out the last two issues, which are one arc called Sister Zero together. So that's issues 12 and 13. What goes down in the summary there?
So Margaret seeks to exorcise the cat demon that possesses her sister.
Yeah, and I should note this is not a Dini and Ronaldo issue. This is Tony Bedard, the occasional Birds of Prey writer, and I think former editor, writing, and Peter Wynn doing the fill-in on art. I gotta say, it's actually a compliment. A lot of times in Streets of Gotham, we just skip the fill-in issues. But I feel in Gotham City Sirens, the fill-ins are a little bit higher caliber. I didn't feel inclined to skip this one, even though I didn't have that much affection or interest in this two-parter.
This one was okay. It wasn't anything amazing. Really, my favorite panels in these particular issues, there's on page 318 and 320, there's a splash page that gives you, one of them gives you a history of what's going on with Margaret. Although I had read some stuff about how this is the one that Black Mass killed her husband and had her eat his eyes or something.
In the Brubaker early aughts run, which we definitely should read at some point in the distant future. It's a great run.
I read that way back in the day, 2004 or 5, whenever it came out. These splash pages really helped me. Also helped me understand what was actually considered in continuity for Catwoman.
Well, this is a somewhat interesting point to me. There's no relation between Peter Wynn and Dustin Wynn, who did the art for Detective Comics and some of Streets of Gotham. But I do think the flashback style in these splash pages you identify is pretty similar to some flashback splash pages that Dustin Wynn did in Streets of Gotham.
They were very helpful because I was not aware of the history of this character.
My favorite panel from this is on 330, and you have a nice, it's not a full splash page, but it's like a splash panel of Catwoman on a building standing over the cathedral holding the jewel encrusted skull that's the MacGuffin or the lost object for this story. I thought that was really cool.
So, Paul, what do you think of the Sister Zero character?
I don't hate it, but I don't ever need to see Sister Zero again. That'd be just fine.
Are we counting this as one of the Dini characters?
I would say no.
Oh, yeah. I didn't understand how she could jump so high and all that stuff. They kept every time she would do something somewhat meta, they would point it out in the comic, and I'm okay. Can we get more detail here?
Well, is the implication either that it's some spiritual power?
It's got to be because she's got that angel hanging out behind her.
Or sometimes this is a stereotype that crazy people have crazy strength, as it were.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I honestly don't remember the specifics.
So when your switch is constantly flipped to fight instead of flight.
It's a much more rationalistic way to do that. All right, well, this has been fun. I'm glad we're still doing old Gotham City Sirens. I'm looking forward to maybe having two more to round out the Dini era of Gotham City Sirens. Although, again, how much Dini is actually involved in that, I couldn't tell you. But we'll find out, and we'll tell you about it, listeners. I am Bob in Cascadia. That is Matt in the Southland, and have a great night, everyone.
One moment, Bob. Before we go, I do have to ask you this. Hush 2 doesn't come out next week, right?
That's a good question.
I feel like the new Batman for Matt Fraction is coming out next week.
It is. I don't know if they were going to relaunch it as a number one, but they are now because Hush is still ongoing.
So, Bob, my question to you is, are we covering Batman by Fraction number 1?
I think we should see what we think.
All right. Well, listeners, here you have it.
Open to it, but I don't know. Do you agree with that, Matt, or does that seem too crazy?
I agree with it, Bob. I think we should give it a read and then decide from there. But I just want to point out that is what we'll be looking at next week.
I don't even necessarily want to know the answer to this, but do you know anything about what the concept for the run is, or like what it's going to be
Uh,
building on?
All I know is Batman's got a new costume.
Batman's got a new costume. Yeah, I was just wondering if there was anything that it would make sense to. For a while, we tried to do Hush stuff with Hush 2.
I see what you're saying. I don't know. We'd have to look. I know Killer Croc is at the beginning of it, so we could just compare it to Hush.
Matt, I think we've talked about Hush for all I need in my life.
Yeah,
I don't know
think
that
we
I
covered
ever need
everything.
to. Matt, currently the release schedule for the last two issues of Hush, we've got only two more. Issue 162 is coming out October 15th, and then issue 163 is coming out October 29th. If it meets both of those deadlines, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn I can sell you to.
All right, there you go. And well, maybe we'll be looking at Batman Fraction next week.
Well, listeners, join us next week for Batman Infraction. Yeah, join us maybe for Batman Fraction. Join us for probably more Gotham City Sirens. Keep on that Strange New Worlds coverage. Listeners, we're Uncanny Tracks. Have a great night.
Thanks for listening.